Imagine, just for a second, never having to worry about a mortgage or a rent payment ever again.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Right. Like, imagine waking up knowing you never have to do your own laundry. You don't have to cook dinner after a brutal commute.
I mean, sign me up.
And you never have to buy a wedding gift out of pure, exhausting social obligation. Just wipe all of those background tasks completely off your mental slate.
Yeah, that's a massive relief.
It is. But what kind of freedom would that actually give you? And more importantly, what exactly would you be willing to trade for it?
Because it speaks to this very specific kind of modern fantasy, I think. We spend so much of our lives managing the friction of existence,
The endless chore.
Exactly, the chores, the bills, the networking. But that friction is also created by the very things that anchor us to our identities.
Right.
So when you strip all that away, you are left with this massive vacuum.
And that vacuum and what rushes in to fill it is exactly what we're exploring in today's deep dive.
It's a wild one.
It really is. We are looking at this fascinating document from September 2009. It was written by a man named Swiffing.
Right, and it outlines a blueprint.
Yeah, a blueprint for a community in southwest China called the Second Home, which later became known as New Oasis for Life.
And at the time this was written, they had 50 permanent residents.
50. And we are talking about a massive generational spread here. Members ranging from 8 years old to over 80.
Yeah, so this wasn't just some temporary retreat
No.
or a summer camp for 20-somethings trying to find themselves. It was this intergenerational project attempting to spearhead a radical new way of living.
A way of living that completely upends the fundamental building blocks of human society. So our mission today is to unpack this blueprint.
Right.
We're going to explore how it claims to solve the literal burdens of modern life and look really closely at the profound trade-offs required to live in their version of a utopia.
Which were intense.
Oh, absolutely. When I was first reading through the sources, trying to wrap my head around it, the best analogy I could come up with is treating human attachment like RAM in a computer.
Oh, I like that.
It's as if they are forcibly closing all of your background applications. Money, chores, marriage, parenting.
Just shutting them all down.
Yeah, to free up 100% of your processing power. But the question is, what do they want you to dedicate that power to?
Well, to figure that out, we really have to look at the mechanical foundation they lay down first.
The logistics.
Exactly. You cannot change human psychology or social dynamics without first changing the material reality.
Yeah.
So the blueprint attacks the logistics of daily survival right out of the gate.
And the logistical setup in the second home is incredibly comprehensive. The community takes total charge of everything.
Everything. Food, clothing, shelter.
Transportation, healthcare. If you bring children into this community, the collective handles the childcare and education.
Which is huge.
And if you have elderly parents, they handle the elder care. You, as an individual, are officially relieved of all those duties.
And the policy making this possible is a concept they call owning nothing but possessing everything.
Yeah, gee.
Right. The text is completely adamant that no resident has personal property.
Zero.
Because if everything is shared, the concept of individual wealth just ceases to exist within their borders.
Which leads to this highly compartmentalized daily life. The document explicitly states their goal is to free people from, quote, trivial details.
Yeah, those background apps.
Right. So you have these hyper-specialized roles. Someone's entire contribution to the community might just be cooking.
We're doing laundry.
Exactly. Someone else cleans, another person nurses the sick, and you only work a 6-hour day.
Just 6 hours.
Yeah, in a role that is supposedly tailored to your specific personality and skills. And outside of those 6 hours, the text claims there is absolutely no management of when you sleep, when you wake up, or what you eat.
And you have to consider the psychological mechanism at play there.
Yeah, how so?
Well, in a standard modern life, we suffer from profound decision fatigue. Just think about your own daily routine. How many micro decisions are you making before you even get to your job?
Oh, man. What to wear, what to pack for lunch, which bills to pay.
Who is picking up the kids?
Yeah.
The modern capitalist environment requires this constant, low-level anxiety about resource management.
That endless grinding loop of what's for dinner and can I afford the mechanic this month?
Exactly. And the appeal of the second home lies in its promise to instantly cure that specific burnout.
By taking it all away?
Right. By saying you own nothing, they're simultaneously saying you have nothing to lose and nothing to protect. The cognitive load drops to nearly zero.
Wow, yeah.
When you are only responsible for chopping vegetables for 6 hours and you know the rest of the machinery is going to feed, clothe, and house you indefinitely, your brain just doesn't have to scan the horizon for threats anymore.
I mean, I can definitely understand the sheer relief of dropping that cognitive load, but it immediately makes me wonder about human nature.
The catch.
Yeah, like the free rider problem. If every single aspect of your survival is guaranteed and managed by the collective.
If you literally cannot fail at providing for yourself.
Right. Doesn't that completely remove the natural drive or ambition that comes from personal responsibility?
So it's interesting. The text actually frames that removal of responsibility not as a loss of drive, but as an unprecedented liberation of the mind and body.
Liberation.
Yeah. They argue that ambition tied to personal wealth is basically a corrupting force. By severing the link between your labor and your personal survival, they claim to unlock a higher efficiency.
So you aren't working to survive.
No, you are working to maintain the sanctuary that protects you.
Okay, but giving up your personal property is a massive leap. And that is just step one.
Just the beginning.
Because the second home demands an even more radical relinquishment to achieve this stress-free life. They completely dismantle the nuclear family.
Yeah, and this moves us from economic collectivism into deep social engineering. Because the traditional family unit is historically the core economic and emotional building block of society.
And the document is uncompromising on this. Upon entering the community, the traditional family disintegrates.
Totally gone.
There are no husband-wife relations. There is no marriage. Parents and young adults don't have to stress about finding a spouse or starting a household.
Instead, the text advocates for total freedom in emotional and sexual love.
Yeah, residents can choose celibacy or multi-partnerships without interference.
And the text emphasizes that no one is gossiping behind your back.
Which is wild.
It is, but it removes the stigma attached to non-traditional relationship structures.
And they claim this eliminates all those complex, exhausting social obligations. Like, the text literally lists out the things you no longer have to agonize over.
The trivial details again.
Right. You don't have to prepare gifts for a wedding. You don't have to send red packets for someone's newborn baby.
You don't have to feel jealous or mull over someone else getting a promotion.
And I want to pause on the red packets and wedding gifts because it sounds trivial, but it's really a proxy for social capital.
Oh, absolutely.
They are eliminating societal scorekeeping.
Because when you remove those obligations, you remove the debt and guilt that often govern human interaction.
Yeah.
You no longer owe anyone anything and no one owes you.
I get the theory, but I'm seriously hung up on the emotional reality of how they enforce this.
That's tough.
The text claims this removes the bondage of feelings, and they explicitly state that anyone attempting to, quote, usurp or possess another person romantically is despised by the community.
Despised is a strong word.
Right. You can't just mandate that someone won't feel jealous. Human attachment is a biological reality. If I see the person I love with someone else, biology kicks in.
Right.
So how do they actually handle a resident having a meltdown over a breakup without calling it a rule violation?
Well, let's look at the mechanics of how human loyalty works. In the outside world, the traditional nuclear family evolved as our primary economic and emotional safety net.
Sure.
Marriage is historically heavily tied to property, inheritance, and mutual survival. What this blueprint attempts to do is sever that bond so the collective can take its place.
Oh, so redirecting the emotional attachment.
Exactly. If your exclusive partner is no longer your safety net, if the community is now feeding you, housing you, and raising your biological children,
Your ultimate loyalty has to shift to the community.
it must. For this system to function, love cannot be viewed as a scarce resource hoarded within a two-person unit. It has to be viewed as abundant and non-exclusive.
Okay, so the community becomes the spouse, the parent, the insurance policy.
Right.
But that still doesn't explain the word despised. That is a very heavily loaded word. It implies severe, targeted social pressure against exclusive romantic love. Like, if you catch feelings, the whole group turns on you.
And that intense social pressure reveals the true mechanism of how this community actually governs itself.
Oh, here we go.
Because if there were no traditional families passing down values, no personal property to incentivize behavior, and total romantic freedom, how does a community of 50 people, ranging from children to the elderly, keep from devolving into total chaos?
And this brings us to what I think is the most fascinating paradox in their entire blueprint. The paradox of absolute freedom versus extreme control.
The governance structure, or, well, their claim that they don't have one, is a masterclass in sociological tension.
Because the document proudly, explicitly claims there is no leadership, no rules, no regulations, no coercion.
None at all.
It says everything is based on free will, and you answer only to the call of your soul. But, and this is a massive asterisk,
The huge one.
everything must strictly adhere to what they call the 800 values for new era human being.
Right. A set of values functioning entirely as an invisible legal code.
Because the reality of this no-rules utopia includes incredibly strict, non-negotiable boundaries.
Very strict.
There is absolutely no smoking, no gambling, no drinking.
You cannot be addicted to video games.
Yeah, video games.
Mm.
And if you exhibit what they call parasite thoughts, meaning you refuse to do your 6 hours of labor, you are, quote, persuaded to leave.
Kick out the parasites.
Furthermore, anyone causing spiritual, soulful, or physical harm to another member is straight up expelled.
Gone.
I just have to call out the glaring contradiction here. I'm genuinely confused by how they justify this to themselves.
With a bit of doublethink.
Seriously, you proudly state there are no rules and I have total free will, but I will literally be kicked out and lose my home, my food, and my entire social network if I play too many video games or act like a parasite.
Yeah.
That sounds exactly like a strict set of rules just wearing a different hat. How can they possibly claim to have no management?
Well, in the sociology of high control or intentional communities, absolute freedom is only logically possible if everyone shares the exact same worldview.
Oh.
The text refers to this shared worldview as having the same spirit and soul frequency.
Meaning if everyone's internal compass is calibrated to the exact same north, you don't need police to keep them on the path.
Exactly. Explicit rules and managers aren't needed if deviance is treated as an existential threat.
Yeah.
You don't need a boss to write you up for being late. If your entire social network, the people who provide your literal survival, will collectively despise you for having parasite thoughts.
So the public shame does the heavy lifting of law enforcement.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
The document mentions that they hold weekly forums to resolve issues, quote, satisfactorily.
Huh.
Let's unpack the psychology of a public forum in a highly homogeneous environment. It is an incredibly powerful tool for behavioral correction.
I can imagine.
Imagine standing in front of the 49 other people who make up your entire world. The community doesn't need a written penal code against video game addiction. If, during the weekly forum, the collective decides your gaming is lowering the spirit frequency of the group.
Because the threat of expulsion, which means losing your food, your shelter, and your friends all at once, is way more terrifying than a traditional legal fine.
Far more terrifying.
It's an invisible fence.
That's a good way to put it.
As long as you stay inside the boundary of the 800 values, you feel totally free. You can roam the pasture, you don't have to cook, you don't have to worry about rent.
But the second you touch the perimeter,
Yeah, you touch the perimeter of those values and you get a massive shock. Conform or you are cast out.
and that brings us to a crucial underlying motivation. Like, why would someone willingly submit to this invisible fence?
Right.
What is the ultimate goal of achieving this perfect internal alignment beyond just having someone else do your laundry?
Well, the text reveals a grand spiritual endgame at play here. And the way they balance this mystical mission with the harsh realities of the outside world is wild.
It is. The document actually includes an appendix written by a resident named Zixia Celestial.
Zixia Celestial, yes.
Which provides a direct window into the metaphysical beliefs driving the residents.
Because Zixia outlines some serious spiritual rewards for living this lifestyle. It isn't just about efficiency. It's about paying back secular debts and accumulating wealth in the, quote, heavenly kingdom.
Right.
They believe that by living according to the 800 values and dropping their earthly attachments, they are perfecting their internal structure.
And if you perfect your structure, you achieve the quality of a super celestial being.
A super celestial being. And there are also claimed physical manifestations of this perfection.
Yeah, the appendix literally promises that as your structure becomes perfect, physical diseases in your body will be swept away unknowingly.
Swept away unknowingly. That is huge.
I mean, to promise the eradication of disease and ascension to a heavenly kingdom is a highly mystical, transcendent goal. It taps into the absolute deepest human fears.
The fear of aging, illness, death.
Exactly.
But despite these massive mystical goals, the main text is hyper-pragmatic about the outside world.
It is.
It is a really jarring pivot. Right after talking about heavenly wealth and super-celestial beings, the blueprint explicitly rejects superstition and the practice of magical arts.
Right.
And crucially, they state in no uncertain terms that they will immediately abandon any practice that is not permitted by the government.
Yeah, they draw a very hard line regarding state statutes.
They actually conclude the entire blueprint with a quote from Mao Zedong.
Which is fascinating.
They write, "We will take your advice as long as it is correct," explicitly inviting supervision from the public and the state. It is so wild to see a group aiming to become super celestial beings being so hyper-focused on making sure they don't upset local authorities.
Right.
Like, is this ideological flexibility just a survival tactic?
Oh, it is a brilliant masterclass in institutional survival.
Yeah.
They are blending radical internal ideology with practical external compliance. On the inside, the spiritual promises like disease eradication and heavenly ascension serve as the ultimate psychological glue.
Right.
If you truly believe your salvation and physical health depend on staying in the community's good graces, you are far more likely to tolerate the loss of your personal property and your exclusive family bonds. You will strictly adhere to those 800 values.
So the spiritual belief provides the necessary leverage to justify the earthly sacrifices.
Exactly. Meanwhile, on the outside, historical precedent shows that intentional communities that isolate themselves and antagonize the surrounding government rarely survive.
That makes sense.
If a group claiming to create super-celestial beings starts practicing magical arts or defying local laws, they invite state intervention.
A quick way to get shut down.
Right. So by explicitly deferring to government authority, rejecting superstition, and utilizing foundational state rhetoric like a Mao Zedong quote, they are signaling to the authorities, we are not a political threat.
Right.
We are orderly, we are obedient, and we are just trying to live quietly.
It's incredibly savvy camouflage. They are building this radical society-altering utopia, but they are wrapping it in a very compliant, non-threatening package to ensure they aren't crushed by the machinery of the outside world.
It guarantees their physical survival in the real world, providing a safe container so they can continue their spiritual mission internally.
Wow. We've really gone on a journey today exploring the blueprint for the second home. We've seen the extreme trade-offs this community demands from its 50 residents.
Very extreme.
To achieve a life completely free of financial stress, tedious daily chores, and exhausting social obligations, you have to pay a remarkably steep price.
Yeah, you are asked to surrender your personal property, dissolve your exclusive family bonds, and ultimately hand over your individual ideology to the collective consensus.
You trade the friction of modern life for the absolute conformity of the 800 values.
And, while this lifestyle is undeniably extreme and certainly not built for everyone, it does speak to very relatable universal desires.
Oh, completely.
We all understand the wish to escape modern exhaustion. We all understand the fear of loneliness and the crushing pressure of trying to maintain social capital in a highly competitive world.
Yeah.
This community simply looked at those common modern problems and offered an extreme, totalizing solution.
It forces you to look at the invisible structures we all take for granted, which brings up an entirely different but related question for you to ponder as you go about your day.
What's that?
Well, we've been talking about removing the friction of life by surrendering to a human collective. But look at the trajectory of our own society with the rise of artificial intelligence and robotics.
The technological pursuit of a frictionless life.
Exactly. If AI and automation eventually step in to do our laundry, cook our food, and remove our daily friction entirely without us ever having to join a commune or give up our personal property, will we naturally become enlightened and stress-free?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Or, without those daily tasks anchoring us, will we just invent entirely new virtual ways to feel exhausted, jealous, and possessive? Maybe the friction isn't just a byproduct of modern life. Maybe it's something our brains are hardwired to create, no matter how utopian the blueprint.